Hello everyone, today we are going to be doing a commander deck tech for Kibo Uktabi Prince. He is a monkey noble and he says tap him, you make a banana artifact token that says tap it, sacrifice, you get a red or a green and you gain 2 life. He says whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control that's an ape or a monkey. Whenever Kibo attacks, defending player sacrifices an artifact. So using this, we're going to be doing a lot of giving artifacts to our opponents, letting them sack it for mana or life, and then we're going to be beefing up our entire team for Monkey Tribal. Game plan, we need Kibo. Flat up, the deck is not good without Kibo. Our whole goal is to play Kibo and ramp with bananas as a good mana source, and then give some to our opponents. We are going to blow up their other artifacts and other stuff that they have to make our monkeys big, and then we are going to kill with big monkeys, pretty much. A very important thing, there is a split between monkeys and apes as a creature type in Magic. This deck has more apes than monkeys, so when the card asks you to choose a creature type, we're going to choose ape. So, special cards that I like about the deck. Karn, Liquid Metal Coating, Liquid Metal Torque, and Microsynth Lattice. The main key with all of these is that they make a permanent a artifact. And the cool thing is we have a lot of artifact destruction, so we're going to be able to just pop away our opponent's stuff at need, right? So we're not going to worry about really Karn's and minus, right? But his plus is going to make a non-creature artifact an artifact, and it's also so like we can kind of get rid of it a little bit easier. And he's also going to make their activated abilities not really do too much. Liquid Metal Coating, same thing, make a permanent artifact. We can attack with Kibo, or we can just blow it up to make him potentially lose it. Liquid Metal Torque, taps for mana, which is good, but we can also make something an artifact, which is, in Kibo death range. And then Microsynth Lattice it makes everything an artifact, so we can be blowing up a lot of stuff. Creatures, I'm sorry to say, guys, there just simply aren't that many apes or monkeys in Magic. Not yet, at least. So, Adaptive Automaton. He's going to come in. We're going to say ape. He's going to be an ape, and then he's going to give our other apes +1/+1. Chameleon Colossus. Changelings are a big part of this deck, just because, again, there's not that many apes or monkeys. So he does count as an ape and a monkey, which is nice. He's pro-black, and then we can just put a bunch of mana into him after blocks and just have him deal a lot of damage. Tigerilla, it's an ape. I'm going to be honest, guys, there are just not that many good monkeys in Magic. You're going to see that throughout this video, but there are just enough to make it worthwhile. So this guy is going to be a 4-mana 4/3 with Trample or Menace. Probably Trample, just because we're going to be putting a lot of counters on him. Gorilla Shaman, Ape Shaman, 1-mana 1/1, XX1, destroy target non-creature artifact with mana value X, so we can just pop something at will. Grun is a lonely monkey. He has Kicker. He enters battlefield with 5 1/1 counters, and if he attacks alone, you double his power and toughness. So I like him just because he's a 6-mana 5/5 monkey, that he can be a 9-mana 10/10 monkey that sometimes has essentially double strike. Guardian Gladewalker is an ape and a monkey. It's a 1/1, or we can basically just put a 1/1 counter on another creature that we'd rather have stick around. We can just use it to chump block, but we can also use it to beef up one of our other more important monkeys. Hooting Mandrills, 6 mana, never going to be 6 mana. We do not care about our grave whatsoever. So he is Delve, so he's usually going to be a lot cheaper, and he is just a very cheaply costed Trample 4/4. And again, Trample's pretty relevant because we're going to be putting a lot of 1/1 counters on him, so we don't want him to just be like chump block. Curd Ape is essentially 1-mana 2/3. That is an ape. Pretty much it. He puts the fur in Fury. Kodama is a big deal in this deck, right? So because whenever an opponent loses an artifact, we put a 1/1 counter on our whole team. That makes all our guys modular, which is going to give them trample through Kodama anyways, which is just good by itself. But whenever one of our creatures with a counter on it is going to deal damage to an opponent, we're just going to get a basic land tap to the field. So it's really, really good ramp. Kogla, big stinky monkey, enters the battlefield. He fights something. Spoiler alert, Kogla does not lose many fights. When he attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. We have a lot of artifact and enchantment hate in this deck, which is very good. We're not going to be able to use his ability. I mean, actually we can, now that I think about it, because we have changelings. So yeah, we can bounce a changeling and make Coggle indestructible. Sometimes, I guess. Not really what he's meant for. He's a big stinky 7/6 that fights and then pops artifacts and enchantments. Max Vandal, changeling, so it's an ape monkey. Enters the battlefield, we exile a creature from our grave. We don't care about our grave. Once a monkey is gone, it is gone forever. To exile an artifact or enchantment. It doesn't destroy, so it doesn't trigger. But it's still just getting it out of there, which is just good removal anyway. Metallic Mimic enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. We'll say ape. It's an ape, and then all our apes enter with an additional 1/1 counter. Sounds good to me. Ragavan, the notorious monkey pirate. When he deals combat damage to a player, make a treasure token and exile the top card of their deck. And we can cast that. His dash isn't super important because if we can play him turn 1, it's awesome. Ravenous Baboons, 4 mana, 2/2, horrible rate, but it pops a non-basic land, which actually makes it a really, really good rate. So a little bit of land destruction. Realm Walker. It's a changeling, which is nice, so it's a monkey and an ape. When it enters battlefield, we say ape. We can look at the top card of our deck at any time, so at the very least we can kind of plan ahead, and then we can just cast apes from the top of our deck. Scrounging Bandar. Enters the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters on it, which is very good. And at the beginning of our upkeep, we may move any number of 1/1 counters from him onto another thing, which is really good because since we're going to be getting a lot of 1/1 counters on our team anyway, we can just, like, since Scourging Bandar is going to get them, we can just put them onto, like, a bigger thing or, like, a bigger threat with, like, Trample or whatever. So it's a little bit of counter manipulation, moving them around. Silverback Elder, he's an ape. When you cast a creature spell, you do the Sunday special. You choose one of them. Destroy an artifact or enchantment, which is already great. Look at the top 5 cards of our deck, put a land card from among them, tapped on the field, or we gain 4 life. He is also just a 5 mana 5/7. Fantastic, great. We're in Gruul. We're going to get a lot of just mana just because Kibo makes bananas, which is good. Silverback Shaman, nothing crazy about him. 5 mana 5/4 with trample, fine rate. And when he dies, we draw a card. That's really it. He's a big boy with trample, and if he goes away, no big deal because we just get another card. Creatures. Simium Simulacrum. He's a new ape. When he enters the battlefield, put 2 1/1 counters on target creature we control, and then we can unearth him later. I guess he really is the only ape in our graveyard we do care about, because we can unearth him. But other than that, he can just enter the battlefield as a 4/3 for 3 mana, and then we can unearth him and just, it's kind of situational, but we can figure it out, whatever we want to add more counters on it anyway. Kind of the same thing with Bandar earlier, where we can just put counters on the biggest threat. Taurine Mauler. That looks like an ox, but it's actually a monkey. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a 1/1 counter on him. Again, we're a 1/1 counter kind of centered thing. That's how we win with big boys, and he's a big boy. Toski, as you might know, is not a monkey or an ape, but he can't be countered and he's indestructible. He attacks each combat if able, and whenever a creature we control deals combat damage to a player, we'll draw a card. And again, we're a battle-heavy deck. We're going to do a lot of combat damage. We're going to be attacking with a lot of creatures, and Toski's just going to help us draw cards. Towering Gibbon, I like his art a lot. He's a new card. He is, at the very worst, a 4/4 with reach. Towering Gibbon's power is equal to the greatest mana value among creatures we control. So if we have like a big guy that costs like 7 mana or whatever, we can have like a 7/4. But again, not really important because we're just going to be putting a lot of counters on our stuff anyways. So he's going to be big regardless. But he does have reach, which can block flyers. Not many apes can do that. Uktabi Orangutan. He's from the Uktabi tribe, just like Kibo. So it's good on flavor. And when he enters the battlefield, just straight up destroy an artifact. Very good. I just like him. Wily Bandar. He's a cat monkey from Kaladesh, which is weird, but I'm not going to judge. So, the thing I like about this guy is you can pay 3 mana to give him indestructible. So, the big thing with, like, counter decks is having your board wiped, right? And then you lose all of that progress you spent so long doing, right? I like the idea of this guy being able to give himself indestructible. 3 mana sucks, but, like, being able to give himself indestructible and being able to save the counters on him and stuff, I like it a lot. Final creature, Yavi Maya Steel Crusher. He's new from Dominaria United. He has an list, not super relevant because we kind of want to be swinging with our whole team all the time, but we can get rid of him to get rid of an artifact, which I do like. Let's go to Sorceries. Valaged Recovery, it's a land on the other side and enters tapped. You guys know all about that, but we can just return a card from our grave to our hand. Seems good to me. Cultivate, we get 2 lands, just good ramp. Decimate, destroy target artifact, creature, enchantment, and land. It's a good card. It is a lot of removal. We can just put it all to one person and destroy them, give them a real bad day, or we can just kind of spread the love, which is usually what you do. Hull Breach. You can choose one of them. Get rid of an artifact, get rid of an enchantment, or just straight up do both. More often than not, we'll just straight up do both. Kodama's Reach, just like Cultivate, a little bit better because it's arcane, but it's just good ramp. Same thing with Nature's Lore. We just get a forest card. It can get dual land like Stomping Grounds. That's a little spoiler for later, though. Triumph of the Hordes. I kind of think it's a little like cheesy card. I think it's good. You guys have all played against a Triumph of the Hordes, and you know how annoying it is. But bottom line is we are a combat-heavy deck, and Triumph of the Hordes does end games, and it destroys target player. So it's very, very nice. And since it gives Trample and Infect and +1/+1, we could probably spread the love a little bit. Vandablast. Destroy target artifact we don't control, or destroy each artifact we don't control. Do you remember that card, little Microsynth that makes all permanents artifacts? Well, pay 5 mana, destroy all of your opponent's permanents. Sorry, 5 mana, destroy all your opponent's permanents. Kind of funny. Let's go to Instance. Beast Within. Get rid of something we don't like, they get a 3/3. Whatever we're getting rid of is definitely worse than a 3/3. Chaos Warp. Kind of the other side of Beast Within. We shuffle a permanent into our opponent's deck, which is good for dealing with Eldrazi and stuff. And then they reveal the top card of their deck, and then they just play that card for free if it's a permanent. On the other side, also very unfortunate if they're like in an Eldrazi deck. But typically, it's like you get rid of like a thing you don't like, and they get like a land. Like that's typically it. Very rarely is it like an oh-no situation where you get something much, much worse. Heroic Intervention. Like again, when you have decks that work around counters, your boards are vulnerable to nukes and stuff, so we want to be able to protect it and give them hexproof and indestructible. Inspiring Call, kind of the same deal. Draw a card for each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it, which is awesome because Kibo puts a counter on the whole team and then give them indestructible. So, again, good card draw, and it gives our team indestructible. Pretty nice. Return of the Wild Speaker. I know we have a lot of high-costed stuff kind of in this deck, but we also make a lot of mana. Return of the Wild Speaker is great because we can either draw... We don't have any humans, so we can either draw a lot of cards because we're going to have big boys, or as an instant speed combat trick, we can give our entire board +3/+3 until end of turn. It's basically instant speed overrun. It's very good. Return to Nature. Choose one of them. Get rid of an artifact or enchantment, or exile a card from a graveyard. This card has been growing on me a lot the more and more I play Magic, and as more sets come out, I'm sure you guys see that there are a lot of problematic things in graveyards more than ever. We have Escape from Theros. We have Unearth from... Brothers War, and then again we see other stuff just like Reanimator decks. It's easy to just get rid of a card from a graveyard, which is nice. Silk Guard, green X, put a 1/1 counter on up to X target creatures you control, right? And then creatures you control, auras, equipment, and modified creatures you control, which is usually our whole team, because they're gonna have 1/1 counters because Kibo. Gain hexproof. So it's good to just stop like a little like kill spell. You find some prisoners. I like the idea. We can either just straight up destroy an artifact, which is good, or we can essentially draw the top 3 cards of our opponent's deck and play one of them. I like that idea just because if we're like in a pickle, we can kind of help our way out of it. Artifacts. Arcane Signet, it's a mana rock. Gruul Signet, it's a mana rock. You know them, you love them. Herald's Horn, it's a tribal thing. We're going to say ape because we have significantly more apes than we do monkeys. And if we can ever upkeep, our apes cost 1 less, and then, we can get an ape sometimes for free. Icon of Ancestry, we're going to say ape. Apes get +1/+1. Look at the top 3 cards, show an ape, put it in our hand. It's just a good, like, little beefy effect, and it also helps us keep our hand full. If we have nothing else to do with 3 mana on someone's end step, fine. But if not, just giving our team +1/+1 is still good. Idol of Oblivion. So, tap it, draw a card, activate it only if you've created a token this turn. Guess what? Kibo makes food tokens. That's a token. We just tap it, draw a card. So it's basically like we draw an extra card each turn. And then if we really, really want to, we can just make a 10/10 sometimes. Lightning Greaves. The deck does not work without Kibo or Kubo, forget his name, which is not very good. But we need to keep him protected. So haste and shroud. Shroud's important. Really, haste isn't that important, but I know we can tap him immediately, make it cost whatever, right? We can get a little banana out of it. No big deal. But again, shroud is important because if someone kills Kubo too many times, we're not winning this game, straight up. Maskwood Nexus. It is very nice because it's going to make our entire team apes, just because we do have some monkeys, but we can also just pay 3 mana and make a 2/2 blue ape, which is very nice. Monkey Cage is a silly card. Whenever a creature comes into play, sacrifice a monkey's cage and put that many 2/2 green ape creature tokens into play. Let me paint you a picture. You play this on turn 5, then turn 7 or turn 6, whatever, how much mana you got. You play Kogla, you get 7. Kogla's a 7/6. You get 7 2/2 apes. You just get 14 power just right off the bat. And that is a lot of apes, especially considering our opponents are going to be sacrificing food tokens to beef up our team, and also us just destroying their other artifacts. Soul Ring, it's Soul Ring. Not going to say anything more about it. Run Soul Ring. Swiftfoot Boots, same thing as Greaves. Give him hexproof. Haste isn't super important, but give him hexproof because he needs to be alive. Tempting Contract is, I think, a neat little card. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent may create a treasure token. Treasure's an artifact, they sack, and we beef up our team, yada, yada, yada. For each opponent who does, you make a treasure token. So it's kind of nice because if we're in a 4-player pod, we can be like, hey, if you guys want a treasure token, we can get 3 treasure tokens, and we kind of want them to sacrifice their stuff anyways, so we can put counters on our team. I like it. Great Henge, never going to cost 9 mana. It's going to cost a lot less because we're going to get big boys. But we tap it, get mana, gain some life, and then whenever a non-token creature enters, we draw a card and put a counter on it. Good card draw, good life gain, good mana rock, just great card in general. Final 2 artifacts, we have the Ozolith. Again, if we lose our field to like a nuke, we need, like, those counters are like the troublesome part to get back, right? So we play the Ozolith, and if a creature leaves, we just stack all those counters on one thing, right? And then like next time we can just put them all into one thing for combat. So at least the counters aren't like necessarily lost. Finally, Vank Banner, we say ape. Apes get +1/+1 whenever we cast an ape. Draw a card. Short, sweet, to the point, good lord effect, good card draw, whatever. We don't have many enchantments, but we'll go through them. Branching Evolution. If one or more 1/1 counters we put on a creature, put twice that many. We deal with 1/1 counters. Kuba makes a lot of 1/1s. He's a silly monkey. That's kind of it. Cindervines. I like the idea of Cindervines. It's usually generally part of my philosophy when making commander decks to be able to counter like most archetypes. So Cindervine is our way to stop Storm or other stuff like that. So whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, deals 1 damage to that player. So no one can really storm off, no one can really start spell slinging, right? And even passively hurts other people that are like, I'm going to play an enchantment or a sorcery or yada, 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 whatever, right? Additionally, pay 1, get rid of it, and then we just pop an artifact or an enchantment, and they take 2. So which is pretty good card for, what, only 2 mana? Garruk's Uprising. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters battlefield under our control, draw a card. We got big apes, so that's going to happen. More importantly, creatures you control have trample, right? And then, when it enters battlefield, if you have a 4/4, you draw a card. So you draw a card, draw a bunch of cards, and your creatures have trample. It's a good card. Hardened Scales. Pretty much same thing as Branching Evolution, but the baby brother version of it. If 1 or more 1/1 counters would be placed on a creature, put that many 1/1 counters instead. So when Kubo does his thing, someone sacks an artifact, we put 2 counters on our creatures instead of 1. Rhythm of the Wild, make sure our boys can't be countered, and then we can also give them Riot, which is make them have haste, or put a 1/1 counter on them. Either or is probably fine, but, Viridian Revel, cool card, even Vorinclex talks about it. Whenever an artifact is put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, just straight up draw a card. We're giving them food tokens legit every single turn. They're going to be probably using them because it's free mana and it's free life, and it's a free card draw for us. Let's go to lands. Castle Garenbrig, we're pretty green heavy, so Castle Garenbrig is going to give us a lot of green for creature spells. Cinderglade taps for either or, we can fetch it with like Nature's Lore or whatever. Command Tower, because it's just an untapped duel. Path of Ancestry, I know he's a monkey, but we do still have some monkeys in the deck, and I think it's fine. Plus having good scry value is always good. Rockfall Vale, enters the battlefield most likely untapped. Same thing with 3-Pound Crag, they're just untapped duels. Spire Garden is untapped duel. Stomping Grounds is Shockland. You can pay 2 life if you want. You can fetch it with Nature's Lore, whatever. Temple of Abandon, we can scry one off of it. That's pretty much it. Final land, Treetop Village, just because it becomes a 3/3 ape, and I like that idea. And it becomes an ape with trample, which is even better. I decided not to go too crazy with the lands for this deck, just because I just don't really think we need it, to be honest. Because if we're making, bananas with Kibo, like every time, then it's like we're never really missing a land drop, I guess. So I don't know. We're also running 12 basics, 12 forest, and 12 mountains. So we have, with MDFCs, we have 35 lands total, which is completely fine considering we have like Soul Ring, Arcane the Signets, and we have the food, and it's fine. I think we're going to be completely fine on mana. The deck is about $380. But to be honest, like if you took out like Ragavan and Great Henge, like you already cut that more in half. You can make this deck extremely budget if you want. There are just a couple pricey cards, like the Ozolith is like $20. That's going to make it a lot more expensive. But you could legit build this deck, most of it, for under $100. And the average CMC of this deck is just about 3. Thank you guys for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel to see more of what I do, and then comment what kind of commander you want me to do next, and I'll just do it. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.